I didn't feel joyful. I was scared. I was afraid. And it wasn't anxiety. They were like panic attacks,
Yeah.
which are different.
Goldie Hawn, the woman whose laugh could light up a whole decade, spent years crafting an image that felt warm, bright, and effortlessly charming. She was the sparkle studios leaned on when they needed magic, the energy that made an entire audience feel safe. But behind that golden glow lived someone who learned the industry's toughest lesson early on. Not every smile in the room is honest, and not everyone standing beside you is really in your corner. Now at 79, she's letting the truth breathe at last, lifting the curtain on a side of her journey she kept locked away for years. She's revealed the 6 names she quietly promised herself she would never work with again. 6 stars whose behavior, ego, or straight up coldness cut deeper than any rumor the tabloids ever tried to spin. These weren't just petty disagreements. These were moments that shook her trust and shaped the way she protected her peace moving forward. They once cheered her on as America's sweetheart, hyping her up like she could do no wrong. But the industry shifts fast, and behind closed doors, some started whispering that she was too much, too fake, or somehow not worthy of the success she earned. She heard every word, even when she pretended she didn't, and she never forgot how each moment made her feel. Once Goldie drew a line, that line stayed bold, clear, and uncrossable, no matter who tried to charm their way back in. Bill Murray, the public slight that ended a partnership before it began. Out of all 6 names on her quiet no-go list, Murray sits right at the top, not because of some creative clash, but because of one moment she refused to let slide. It all went down during a late 1980s table read for a big studio comedy. On paper, the pairing of Hawn and Murray looked like a perfect mix. Her elegance matched with his wild card energy. But the vibe flipped fast. Even before they cracked open the first scene, Murray strolled in almost an hour late, loud, distracted, and acting like the room was waiting on him to wake up. He dropped his half-finished coffee right onto Goldie's script, barely glancing at her as he said, "Now we can start." The whole room froze, and Goldie felt the tension hit her like a cold wave. Halfway through the scene, things went from uncomfortable to disrespectful. Murray leaned back with a smirk and tossed out, "Try it like someone who's actually done drama." Nervous laughter bounced around the table, but Goldie didn't join in, and she didn't even blink. Instead, she calmly closed her script, stood up, and walked out without saying a single word. That silence was her power move, and everyone in the room knew it. Within 24 hours, her team delivered a clear message to the studio. Goldie Hawn was officially off the project. No debate, no second chances, no smoothing things over. Later, she confided in a friend saying, "He mistakes volatility for brilliance. To me, it's simply exhausting." From that moment on, she avoided anyone who turned unpredictability into a weapon. And when people asked her years later if she'd ever consider working with Murray again, her answer stayed calm, professional, and rock solid. No interest. Warren Beatty, the refusal that triggered a silent war. Goldie's clash with Warren Beatty all started with one simple word: no. Back in the late 1970s, Beatty was sitting at the top of Hollywood's power pyramid, juggling roles as actor, director, producer, and full-time charmer with a reputation that followed him everywhere. When he set his sights on Goldie, the invitations came fast. Dinners, private parties, little drop-by moments meant to pull her into his orbit. She stayed kind, respectful, and crystal clear that she wasn't interested. And that's when everything around her started to shift. Almost overnight, projects she had been promised suddenly disappeared into thin air. Directors who once chased her enthusiasm backed off without explanation. One producer quietly pulled her aside and said, "Warren says you're difficult, not serious material." It wasn't explosive or dramatic. It was subtle, calculated, and carried out in whispers that spread faster than any headline. Goldie later summed it up with sharp honesty, saying, "He doesn't handle rejection, or he punishes it." And that punishment came in the form of doors that slowly closed, all because she didn't play the game he expected her to play. Years later, the universe handed them a moment under glittering lights at an award ceremony. Beatty walked up with that familiar grin, the one that usually melted tension in any room. But Goldie wasn't playing along. She looked him directly in the eyes, gave a calm, polite half smile, and turned her back before he could even get a word out. The room froze, and everyone instantly understood the message loud and clear. Dustin Hoffman, the audition that destroyed her respect. Out of all the names tied to Goldie's quiet list, Hoffman was the one that truly shocked people. To the world, he stood as a genius, the kind of performer critics worshipped. But to Goldie, he became something completely different once she saw how he operated behind closed doors. In the early 1980s, she auditioned opposite him for a high-profile dramatic project meant to mark her big shift into serious cinema. It was a moment she cared about, a chance to show a new side of her craft. But halfway through the read, Hoffman suddenly stopped, threw the room off balance, and announced, "She's still playing it like a sitcom." His tone wasn't constructive. It was casual, public, and sharp enough to sting anyone paying attention. It hit her hard, not because she questioned her ability, but because the disrespect was so unnecessary and delivered like it was nothing. Still, Goldie kept her composure locked in tight. She finished the scene with smooth professionalism, thanked everyone in the room, and walked out with her dignity untouched. By the next morning, she made her decision clear. She withdrew from the project completely. "I'm not fighting for respect in a room where the decision's already been made," she told her agent, shutting that door without hesitation. And she never worked with Hoffman again, not once, not even in passing. Later, in one of her rare sharp comments that sliced right to the truth, she said, "Some men forget they're not directing the women around them." With that single line, she didn't just close the chapter. She sealed it forever. Chevy Chase, the ego that poisoned a hit film. Goldie and Chevy Chase looked like the perfect match in Foul Play 1978, at least on screen. Behind the scenes, though, the vibe was nothing like the charming chemistry the audience saw. Chase walked onto set acting like the whole studio lot was his personal playground. He rewrote punchlines on the fly, undercut scenes that weren't centered on him, and openly sulked anytime Goldie delivered a joke that hit harder than his. One tense night, after clashing over the timing of a simple scene, Chase stormed off set like the world owed him an apology, refusing to return unless the director changed everything to suit him. While the crew scrambled to calm him down, Goldie stayed behind, drained and sitting on a stairwell, letting the weight of the day settle on her shoulders. She leaned toward her stylist and whispered, "He isn't funny when the cameras stop. He's just unkind." That one line said everything she needed to say. By the time filming wrapped, the two weren't even speaking, and the tension was thick enough to feel from across the room. The studio pushed hard for a sequel, a guaranteed blockbuster with piles of money on the table. But Goldie didn't hesitate for a second. Her answer came fast and firm: not interested. In the end, she chose her peace over millions, shutting down any chance of revisiting that partnership ever again. Sean Penn, the public insult Goldie never forgot. Just when Goldie thought she had already seen the peak of Hollywood arrogance, Sean Penn showed her there was a whole different level to it. The moment happened in 2014 during a Malibu charity gala where she'd been invited to speak about mental health, a cause she's supported for years with real heart. As she stepped onto the stage, the crowd settled into respectful silence. Everyone except Penn. He rolled his eyes in a way that practically echoed through the room and muttered, "Another celebrity wellness sermon." People around him shifted awkwardly, pretending not to hear, but Goldie stayed steady and graceful, refusing to let it throw her off. When she finished her speech and the hall filled with applause, Penn leaned back in his chair and added, "She should stick to giggling." It wasn't just rude, it was dismissive, tired, and completely unnecessary. Goldie didn't let even a flicker of irritation show. She simply walked out early, smiling like she always does, keeping her dignity untouched. But once she was in the car, away from the crowds and the cameras, she finally let the truth spill out. "My whole career, and I'm still reduced to giggles." That sentence carried decades of frustration wrapped in one quiet moment. From that night on, she made a clean, firm decision. She wouldn't attend any event where Penn was expected to show up. No drama, no statements, no call-outs, just distance. And when someone asked her years later what she thought of him, her response was cool, controlled, and final. Not my energy. No anger, just a boundary drawn with absolute clarity. Kirk Douglas, the icon who made her feel invisible. The last name on Goldie's list is the one that stunned people the most, Kirk Douglas. She admired him for years. The whole world did. But one single encounter flipped her entire perspective. It happened in the late 1990s during an industry panel where Goldie, already an Oscar winner and a powerhouse producer, sat beside Douglas. He greeted her with a big smile and said, "You haven't aged a day, sweetheart." The crowd laughed and Goldie smiled too, but inside something tightened like a knot she couldn't ignore. As the panel went on, Douglas kept cutting her off mid-sentence, correcting her takes and turning her thoughtful insights into setups for his own stories. Every time she tried to speak, he redirected the spotlight right back to himself. By the time the discussion wrapped, her warm expression had shifted into something cold and unreadable, the kind of look that says everything without a single word. After the event, she pulled a close friend aside and said, "He talks to me like I'm still the blonde in the bikini scene. I've won an Oscar." That line carried years of growth, years of work, and years of being underestimated, all boiling down to one moment where she realized nothing about her evolution mattered to him. She stayed close to Michael Douglas, whom she respected deeply, but she never spoke about Kirk again. Not publicly, not privately, not even in passing. And when she did address it years later, her words were sharp, honest, and unforgettable. Some men don't deserve a second act in your memory. With that one sentence, she closed the book for good. These 6 names crack open a truth Hollywood rarely admits. Behind every glowing smile, there are shadows most people never get to see. Even the brightest stars carry stories that shape them in silence, choosing strength over confrontation and peace over chaos. Goldie's journey shows how much a person can endure while still keeping their light shining strong. So tell me, whose story hit you the hardest? Did any moment catch you off guard? And do you think Goldie was right to shield herself from all that energy? Or should she have stepped up and handled them face to face sooner? Your take matters, so drop it in the comments and let's talk about it. And make sure you like, subscribe, share, and keep that notification bell on so you never miss another deep dive into the hidden corners of Hollywood. See you on the next one.